The morning is so still it feels staged. Elias sits on the edge of his bed, fingers locked together, breathing in short, uneven pulls. The room is quiet, but inside his chest, something trembles, something he can't name. His phone buzzes on the floor. One vibration, then another. But he doesn't move. He just watches it, jaw tight, eyes unfocused. His throat burns with a tightness he knows too well. Silence has been his shield for 15 years, but today it presses on him like a weight. A sudden rush of panic rises fast, sharp and cold. His breath catches. His hand lifts on its own, shaking. And then, before he can stop it, a tiny sound escapes him. Just a broken exhale with shape. A sound he hasn't heard in half his life. His own voice. It's so small, yet it shatters everything. And in that moment he wonders, terrified. What if the silence isn't protecting me anymore? Elias stays frozen long after the sound leaves him. His chest still trembles, breath catching in short, uneven bursts. He presses both hands against his face, palms cold, trying to pretend the moment never happened. But the memory won't fade. It loops, sharp and bright, like a spark burning through old fabric. He stands slowly, legs unsteady, and walks toward the bathroom. The floor creaks under his steps, louder than usual, or maybe he's just noticing the world again. When he splashes water on his face, the quiet feels wrong. Too thin, too fragile, like a wall with cracks spreading across it. He stares at his reflection, waiting for calm to return. But all he sees is fear staring back. Deep inside, a small question rises like a whisper he tried to bury. What if that sound means the silence is finally slipping? Elias dries his face slowly, letting the towel rest over his mouth for a moment as if it could hold his breath steady. When he lowers it, the house feels heavier. Every small sound seems to echo. The tick of the clock, the distant groan of wooden beams, the wind brushing against the window. He steps back into his room, eyes lowered, trying to settle himself into routine. But the routine feels broken, cracked at the center. He reaches for his phone, hesitates, then picks it up anyway. His hand isn't steady. The screen lights up with missed calls from his father. He swallows hard. Jonas has been trying to check on him since early morning, and Elias wonders if he somehow heard the panic through the walls. The thought makes his stomach twist. He sets the phone down again, slower this time, and sits on the floor. He wants silence back. But now silence feels like a stranger watching him from across the room. The room feels too small now, like the walls are leaning in. Elias leans his head back against the mattress and shuts his eyes, trying to slow everything down. He counts his breaths, but they keep slipping out of rhythm. His throat feels raw, though he only made the smallest sound. It frightens him how much it lingers, like the echo hasn't fully left. After minutes of stillness, he pushes himself up. His limbs feel weak but determined. He walks toward the window, pulling the blinds slightly open. Light spills across his face, warming it. For a moment, he imagines what it would be like to not fear his own voice. The idea feels impossible, but also strangely alive. He grips the windowsill and lets the sunlight rest on him, steady and quiet, and wonders whether silence has stopped being a home and started being a cage. The warmth from the window steadies Elias just enough for him to return to the bed. He sits down slowly, palms flat against the blanket. His heartbeat is no longer racing. But it isn't calm either. It sits somewhere in between, unsettled, searching. He looks at the door, half expecting his father to walk in. Jonas doesn't. Maybe he's giving Elias space. Maybe scared of pushing too hard? Elias presses a hand to his throat, feeling the faint ghost of the sound he made. It's strange how something so small could stir so much. He doesn't know if it was an accident or something breaking free. He doesn't know if he should fear it or follow it. He closes his eyes, breathing slowly, letting the room settle around him, and deep down he feels it. The silence has shifted. It's no longer just quiet, it's waiting. Elias sits on the couch hours later, knees pulled close, staring at the blank TV screen like it's safer than the thoughts in his head. His father moves quietly in the kitchen, each soft footstep catching Elias's attention. Jonas doesn't say a word. He never does when Elias looks fragile like this. But today, that silence feels heavier than usual. Elias's mind keeps circling that tiny sound he made earlier, replaying it until it feels unreal. He keeps touching his throat, as if checking whether something has changed inside him. After a long minute, Jonas walks to the doorway, stopping just short of entering. His voice cracks the stillness. "Do you need anything?" Elias doesn't look up. He can't. But he nods once. Jonas hesitates, then steps out of sight, and Elias realizes how strange it is. After 15 years of silence, he's the one afraid to hear himself. Elias finally stands, moving toward the small desk tucked against the wall. He opens a drawer and pulls out a worn notebook, his only way of speaking for years. The cover is bent, edges frayed from constant use. He flips through old pages filled with shaky handwriting, reminders, answers, questions he could never say out loud. As he scans them, his chest tightens. Every word feels like a piece of the silence he built around himself. Brick by brick, he turns to a blank page but hesitates. For the first time, writing feels wrong. Too quiet. Too slow. He lowers the pen, staring at the page as if waiting for something to rise from it. And then a thought drifts into his mind, soft but unsettling. If he spoke once without meaning to, what happens when he tries? Elias closes the notebook gently and holds it to his chest. The room feels too quiet again. He walks toward the kitchen where Jonas stands rinsing a cup, shoulders slumped. Elias pauses in the doorway. He wants to write something down. Show it to his father. Offer some sign that he's okay. Or at least trying. But the notebook feels heavy now, too permanent. Instead, he just stands there. Jonas turns slowly, surprised to see him. For a moment, they simply stare at each other, a long stretch of silence that carries years of fear between them. Jonas opens his mouth, then stops. He's trembling slightly. Elias swallows hard, feeling his throat tighten again. This time, though, he doesn't run from it. He lets the feeling sit, even if it scares him. He stays there, trying to face the father he hasn't spoken to since he was 16. Jonas wipes his hands and steps toward Elias, moving slowly as if any sudden gesture might break the moment. Elias shifts his weight, unsure whether to stay or retreat. But something holds him there. Jonas hesitates, eyes softening. "I heard you earlier," he says quietly. Elias's breath stutters. Jonas lifts a hand but doesn't touch him. Not yet. "It scared me," Jonas admits, "but it also gave me hope." Elias looks down, gripping the notebook tighter. He doesn't know what to do with hope. It feels like something sharp in his hands. The air between them thickens, filled with all the words neither of them have said in 15 years. Jonas steps back, giving him space, and whispers, "You don't have to be afraid of trying." Elias's throat tightens again, but this time it feels different. It feels like something waking up. Elias retreats to his room, the notebook still tucked against him. He sits on the floor, leaning back against the bed, trying to steady the storm inside. Jonas' words echo in his mind. Hope. Trying. He hasn't allowed himself either in years. He presses a hand to his throat, feeling the faint, shaky breath beneath his fingers. He closes his eyes and imagines speaking again. Not loudly, not confidently. Just a single word. The thought terrifies him, but it also pulls him forward. He inhales slowly. The air trembles inside him. His lips part slightly, but no sound comes. Still, something shifts. He doesn't run from the feeling this time. He sits with it, holds it. And for the first time in 15 years, the silence doesn't feel like a wall. It feels like a door he might be ready to push open. The next morning, Elias wakes with a dull ache behind his eyes, the kind that comes from thinking too much and sleeping too little. The air feels heavier than usual, as if the house itself is bracing for something. He sits up slowly, rubbing his face, trying to push away the memory of yesterday. The tiny sound he made, the way it shook him, the way Jonas looked at him afterward. He moves to the dresser and pulls out a hoodie, slipping it on with slow, stiff motions. His phone buzzes once, a message from an unfamiliar number. He hesitates before opening it. Rhea Monton, therapist. She must have gotten his file from the clinic Jonas contacted months ago, the one Elias ignored. The message is gentle, simple. "I'm available today if you'd like to meet." Elias stares at it, heart thumping. Meeting her means opening doors he's nailed shut for years. But something inside him whispers that silence isn't enough anymore. Elias walks into the living room where Jonas sits with a mug in his hands, staring at nothing. Jonas looks up, startled, as if he expected the room to stay empty. Elias holds up his phone, showing the message. Jonas' eyes soften with something like hope, but he masks it quickly, not wanting to add pressure. Elias nods once, small, unsure, but enough. Jonas sets his mug down slowly. "I can drive you," he says gently. Elias doesn't respond with words, obviously, but he doesn't turn away either. That alone feels like progress. Jonas moves around the house quieter than usual, giving Elias space while preparing to leave. Elias stands by the door, hoodie sleeves covering his hands, pulse loud in his ears. He isn't ready, but he's going anyway, and that scares him almost as much as it steadies him. The drive is quiet, but not the kind of quiet Elias hides in. This one feels stretched, nervous, waiting. Elias watches the world pass through the car window, homes he's seen all his life, streets he used to walk before silence took over everything. Jonas keeps his hands firm on the steering wheel, glancing over every few seconds but never pushing. When they pull into the small clinic parking lot, Elias's chest tightens. His breath turns shaky, uneven. Jonas shifts the car into park and looks at him gently. "I'll wait right here," he says. Elias nods, though his hands shake as he reaches for the door. The air outside feels colder than he expected. He walks slowly toward the entrance, each step a quiet battle. And when he reaches the door, he hesitates, because stepping inside means letting someone see the things he's buried deep inside the silence. Elias steps inside the clinic, the door clicking shut behind him with a sound that feels too loud. The waiting room is small, warm, almost too gentle for the storm inside him. He stands still, unsure where to go, until a soft voice calls his name. He turns. Rhea stands in the doorway to her office, offering a calm, grounded smile that doesn't push, doesn't pry. It simply waits. Elias freezes, legs stiff, breath uneven. Inside her office, everything is quiet but alive. Soft plants, warm blankets, shelves filled with books. Rhea sits across from him, hands resting loosely in her lap. She doesn't speak right away. She lets the silence settle into something safer, and somehow, that alone makes Elias feel the ground beneath him again. Elias sits on the edge of the couch, hands locked together so tightly his knuckles ache. Rhea sits across from him, leaning slightly forward, not crowding him, but showing she's here. "You don't have to speak," she says gently. "Not today, not ever. Unless you choose to." Elias lowers his gaze, shoulders trembling. The pressure in his chest rises again. But it's not panic this time. It's something like longing. Rhea continues softly, "But you did make a sound yesterday. That means something." Elias's breath catches. He presses a hand to his throat, remembering the tiny sound that startled him into a new reality. Rhea watches him with patience that feels almost overwhelming. "I'm here to help you understand it," she says. Elias closes his eyes. For the first time in 15 years, he feels the possibility of speaking again, not as a demand, but as a choice. Elias sits in Rhea's office again a few days later, but this time the silence between them feels different. Thicker, heavier, pulling him towards something he isn't ready to touch. Rhea studies him gently, hands folded in her lap, waiting for him to begin however he chooses. He holds his notebook, but he doesn't open it. He keeps his eyes on the floor, breath shaky. "Yesterday," Rhea says softly, "you felt something shift. I don't want to rush you, but I want to understand what it felt like." Elias presses his lips together, throat tightening as the memory flickers, panic rising, breath breaking, that small accidental sound cracking out of him like a fracture in stone. He grips the notebook harder, knuckles pale. Rhea leans forward slightly. "It's okay to be scared of the truth," she says. "Most people are." Elias's chest clenches, because he knows she's right, and he knows the truth is getting closer. Rhea gently asks Elias to think about what silence has protected him from. The question crashes into him harder than he expects. He tightens his grip on the notebook, struggling to breathe evenly. He looks toward the window, eyes unfocused, searching for something steady. Rhea waits. She doesn't rush him. Eventually, Elias places the notebook on his lap and opens it slowly. The page is blank. He touches the pen to the paper, but his hand trembles too much to write. His throat aches. His breath grows shallow. Memories start pressing at the edges of his mind. Shouting, slammed doors, a night he never speaks of. Panic crawls up his neck. Rhea's voice cuts through gently, grounding, "Elias, you're safe here." He closes his eyes, forcing air into his lungs. But safety isn't the problem. It's the past. The past is waking up. Elias forces himself to breathe slower. Rhea waits, patient, steady. When he finally opens his eyes, she suggests something simple. "Draw the moment. Don't explain it. Just draw it." Elias hesitates, but the idea feels less terrifying than writing. His pen touches the paper and begins moving shakily. Lines messy, uneven. He doesn't look at Rhea. He just draws a doorway, a shadow behind it, a raised hand. The sound of breaking. The moment his voice shut down, his hand freezes. The pen drops. He pulls his knees to his chest, shaking. Rhea moves only a little closer, enough for him to feel she's there but not overwhelming him. "You survived it," she whispers. He covers his face with his hands as the memory pounds inside him, raw and unfinished. The silence isn't protection anymore. It's proof of the wound. Later that afternoon, Elias returns home drained, shoulders heavy, body exhausted from emotions he kept buried for half his life. Jonas waits in the kitchen, but when Elias enters, he freezes, because Elias looks shaken, different, like something inside him cracked open. Jonas steps forward carefully. Rhea said, "Everything went okay?" he asks softly. Elias nods, but it's slow, unsure. He sets his notebook on the table and sits down. Jonas sits across from him, hands trembling slightly. The silence stretches thick with years of avoidance. Then Jonas whispers, "You don't have to tell me anything, but I want to be here now. I want to do better." Elias looks up, eyes stinging. For the first time in years, he doesn't look away. It hurts, but he holds the moment. Something inside him loosens. Whoa. And sure, in extremity. That night, Elias lies in bed staring at the ceiling. His body is still, but his mind whirls. He keeps replaying the drawing, the memory, the doorway, the shadow. His throat pulses with a familiar ache. Fear mixed with something rawer, something almost alive. He presses a hand to his chest, feeling his breath rise and fall in uneven waves. He isn't okay. Not yet, but for the first time he's not running. He thinks of Ria's steady voice, Jonas' quiet confession, the memory he finally allowed himself to face. The room is dark except for a faint glow from the hallway. He closes his eyes, letting the silence wrap around him, not as a shield, but as something softer now. And in the quiet, he feels it. Healing doesn't start with strength. It starts with breaking. Elias stands outside the clinic again, hands buried deep in his hoodie sleeves, heart beating faster than he wants to admit. Today feels different. Heavy. Important. Rhea greets him with the same steady warmth she always carries, and he follows her into the office without hesitation this time. When he sits, she studies him carefully. "Last session brought up a memory," she says softly. Elias nods, throat tightening. "Do you feel ready to go a little deeper today?" He exhales shakily. He isn't. Not even close. But something inside him knows he has to. He presses a hand to his chest, grounding himself. Rhea watches him with gentle patience, waiting for the moment he chooses. Slowly, Elias lifts his pen and writes one word on the page. "Doorway." Rhea nods. "Then we'll start there." Elias closes his eyes. And finally, the past begins to open. Inside the office, Elias holds the notebook like it's something fragile. Rhea asks him to close his eyes and describe, not in words, but in feeling, what the doorway memory brings up. His breath stutters. His chest tightens. He grips the notebook harder. The room around him begins to fade as old images push their way up, shadows stretching across a hallway, a voice raised in anger, fear thickening the air. His fingers tremble. Rhea's voice anchors him gently. "You're safe now," she reminds him. Elias opens his eyes, blinking fast as the pressure behind them builds. He scribbles a shaky drawing, a hand raised, not striking but threatening enough to silence him. Rhea studies it with gentle caution. "This moment changed you," she says quietly. Elias nods, a shiver crawling through him, because this moment didn't just silence him, it trapped him. Rhea asks Elias what happened after the doorway moment, but he can't answer. His throat locks. Memories flash and fracture inside his mind. He presses both hands to his ears, shaking his head. The room tilts. Panic surges up fast and sharp. Rhea moves closer, but not too close, grounding her voice. "Elias, breathe with me." He tries, air entering in broken gasps. Tears gather at the corners of his eyes. He hasn't cried in years. He barely remembers how. Rhea waits until his breathing steadies enough for him to open his eyes again. She sits on the floor across from him, making herself smaller, gentler. "You don't have to relive all of it today," she says softly. "Just let yourself feel what comes." Elias covers his face, overwhelmed, because what's coming isn't pain, it's something deeper, grief. Elias sits back on the couch, wiping his face with his sleeve. He feels emptied out, raw, shaky. Rhea sits across from him again, giving him time to settle. When she finally speaks, her voice is soft. "Your silence began as protection, but now it's holding you in the same place you were hurt." Elias lowers his gaze. Hands clasp tightly. The words sink into him slowly, painfully. He knows she's right. Silence once felt safe. Now it feels like a chain. Rhea leans forward. "There will come a moment when your voice will return, not because you force it, but because you're ready." Elias's breath shivers. The idea feels impossible, yet not entirely out of reach. For the first time, he wonders what his voice even sounds like now. 15 years older. 15 years quieter. 15 years wait. That evening, Elias walks into the house feeling different, lighter, but also exposed. Jonas steps out from the kitchen, startled by the redness around Elias' eyes. He hesitates before gently asking, "Hard day." Elias nods. Jonas walks closer, slower than usual, giving Elias time. "I'm proud of you," he says quietly. The words hit Elias harder than expected. He lowers his head, emotion rushing up fast. Jonas reaches out, but stops short, letting Elias choose. After a long moment, Elias steps forward, allowing the hug. Jonas wraps his arms around him carefully, like he's holding something fragile. Elias's throat shakes, a sound almost rising. Not a word, just breath with shape. Jonas hears it, stiffening with surprise, then softening with hope. Elias pulls back, overwhelmed. Something inside him is shifting. The voice he lost isn't gone. It's waking. The next morning, Elias wakes with a heaviness that feels different. Not panic, not fear, but a slow, steady ache from memories rising too quickly. He sits at the edge of his bed, rubbing his face, trying to breathe through the tightness in his chest. The house is quiet, but not painfully so. Jonas moves in the kitchen, the soft clink of dishes grounding the air. Elias walks toward the hallway, steps slow, mind buzzing with leftover fragments from his session. The doorway, the shadow, the raised hand. He pauses outside the kitchen, unsure whether he's ready to face any more truth today. Jonas turns when he enters, surprise softening into worry. Elias leans against the counter, exhausted. Jonas waits, gentle and still. For a moment, Elias wishes he could speak. Just one word, to explain what's breaking open inside him. But the silence holds him. Not as a cage this time, but as something trembling on the edge of becoming sound. Jonas pours coffee quietly, sliding a mug toward Elias without a word. Elias wraps his hands around it, letting the warmth settle into his fingers. They sit in silence, fragile, but not empty. Jonas clears his throat. "I've been thinking," he begins slowly. Elias looks up. Jonas' voice shakes a little. "I should have protected you better, back then." Elias stiffens, breath catching. He doesn't want to go there, not with words, not even in silence. But Jonas continues carefully. "I can't change what happened, but I can stand with you now." Elias's throat tightens painfully. The memory of that night flickers in sharp pieces. Fear, shouting, something breaking inside him long before his voice disappeared. He lowers his eyes, fingers trembling slightly around the mug. Jonas doesn't push further. He simply waits, allowing Elias to feel everything rising inside him, even the things neither of them can say aloud. Later that afternoon, Elias sits on his bed flipping through his notebook, each page a map of who he's been. Silent, scared, surviving. He stops at the drawing he made in Ria's office. The doorway, the raised hand. The moment everything closed inside him, his breath shakes. He presses his fingers to the paper, tracing the lines as though touching the past might loosen its grip. A sudden impulse rises, one he doesn't expect. He reaches for his phone and types a message to Mara. They haven't spoken in years, not since before his silence swallowed everything. He hesitates, thumb hovering, but he sends it anyway. "Can we meet?" His heart pounds immediately. He doesn't know if she'll answer. He doesn't know if he's ready. But something inside him is pushing, urging him forward, because healing doesn't happen alone. Mara's reply comes quicker than Elias expects. "Of course. I'm here. Always have been." The message hits him like a warm shock. Memories of her flood back, her laughter, her steady presence, the way she understood him even before silence took over. He meets her at a quiet park near their old school. When she approaches, Elias freezes. She looks almost the same. Older, yes, but grounded, familiar. Mara stops a few feet from him, eyes softening. "Hey," she says gently. Elias swallows hard, hands shaking slightly. They sit on a bench, the air cool around them. Mara talks softly, filling the silence without crowding it. "I never stopped worrying about you," she admits. Elias lowers his gaze, overwhelmed. Being seen, truly seen, hurts more than he expected. But it also brings something else. Relief. Mara sits beside Elias, close but not too close. The wind moves gently through the trees, filling the space between them. "Elias," she says softly, "you don't have to explain anything. I'm just glad you're here." He squeezes his hands together, battling the pressure rising in his throat. Mara watches him carefully. "You don't owe anyone your voice," she adds. "But if you ever want to try, I'll be here." The words hit something deep. Elias inhales shakily. His lips part, just slightly. A tiny sound forms in his chest, trembling upward. Not quite a word, but close. His breath stutters, and he clamps his mouth shut, overwhelmed. Mara doesn't flinch. She places a hand over his, steady, warm. Elias feels something breaking open again, softer this time. A beginning. The morning after seeing Mara, Elias wakes with a feeling he barely recognizes, something fragile, almost hopeful, sitting just beneath the fear. He moves through the house quietly, each step lighter than usual. Jonas looks up from the kitchen table, surprised by the calm settling over him. Elias sits down across from him, hands resting loosely on the wood. For a long moment, neither of them moves. Jonas finally speaks, voice soft. "Rhea called last night. She said you made real progress." Elias's chest tightens, but not in the painful way it used to. He nods slowly. Jonas swallows, eyes glistening. "I'm proud of you," he whispers again. Elias lets the words land this time. He doesn't look away. The air between them shifts, gentler, warmer. Something inside Elias feels ready. Not to speak yet, but to try. And that alone changes everything. Elias returns to Rhea's office later that afternoon. This time, he sits down without hesitation. Rhea notices immediately. "You look different today," she says gently. Elias lowers his gaze, but not out of fear. Out of something like newness. He holds his notebook, but doesn't open it. Rhea leans forward slightly. "Would you like to try something?" Elias nods once. She asks him to breathe deeply, to place a hand on his chest, and to feel the rise and fall. He does, slow and steady, eyes closing. "If a sound comes," she whispers, "don't force it, just let your body speak for you." Elias swallows hard, throat tightening. He breathes again and again. Something stirs beneath the silence. Something warm, something old, something waiting. Rhea watches him with steady, calm patience. The room feels like a place where anything could happen. Elias breathes again, deeper this time. His chest rises slowly, and the room feels still enough to hear the quiet tick of the clock on the wall. Rhea waits, hands folded loosely in her lap. Elias keeps his eyes closed as warmth spreads through his chest, pain mixed with relief, fear mixed with courage. A tremor rises in his throat. His lips part slightly. A sound begins to form, small but real. His breath catches, shaping itself into something more. Rhea leans forward gently, whispering, "You're safe. Let it come." And then, it happens. A fragile, trembling whisper breaks free. The first true sound of his voice in 15 years. It's barely audible, soft as dust, but it exists. Tears fill his eyes instantly. His breath falters, overwhelmed. Rhea smiles through her own emotion. "There you are," she whispers. "Welcome back." Elias sits frozen, shocked by the sound that left him. His hands shake as emotion floods him, fear, disbelief, relief, all tangled together. Rhea waits, giving him space to breathe. Tears spill down his cheeks, and he doesn't wipe them away. He presses a trembling hand to his throat, feeling the echo of the whisper still humming beneath his skin. Rhea speaks softly. "That was your voice, not the boy you were. The man you've become." Elias lets the words sink in, deep and warm. The silence around him feels different now, lighter, softer, like something that finally loosened its grip. He breathes again, a tiny hitch in his chest, another sound threatening to rise. Rhea smiles gently but doesn't urge him. She simply holds the space open. For the first time, Elias believes he might actually fill it. That evening, Elias walks home with a calm he has never felt before. The world around him feels softer, shadows less heavy, sounds less sharp. When he steps inside, Jonas looks up immediately, searching his face. Elias sits down beside him, heart pounding again, but not from fear, from possibility. He turns toward his father, breath trembling. His lips part. Another small sound rises. This one clearer, steadier. Jonas' eyes widen, filling with tears as he hears it. Elias's voice, his real voice, cracks out in a single, fragile word. It's quiet, almost breaking. But it's there. Jonas covers his mouth. Overwhelmed. Elias exhales shakily, chest shaking with relief. 15 years of silence fall away in an instant. And for the first time, Elias feels it. His voice didn't disappear. It was waiting for him to come back.